What is up, Stoveminders? It's Tuesday, January 12th, 2021. And after some cold days this past weekend, the stove is back to warm as far as MLB offseason transactions go. And I got a couple of good ones to talk about, so let's get to it. First, the long-awaited, much speculated about class of free agent closers has a first man across the finish line, and it's right-hander Liam Hendriks from Western Australia, the great city of Perth. He has signed a 3-year contract with $54 million guaranteed with the Chicago White Sox. How about that? Well, first, a couple notes about this contract itself, because it's got a really unusual buyout clause here. Now, as I said, it's valued at $54 million, which I should note is the largest contract of the winter so far in terms of just total money. But if you go on the old spot rack and you look at the year-by-year breakdown, Hendriks never makes more than $15 million in a season in base salary, despite the fact that over just 3 years, he has an average annual value of $18 million. How has that happened? Well, the White Sox gave him a peculiar option/buyout for, I guess it would be 2024. It's a $15 million option, and it's a $15 million buyout. And if they choose to exercise that buyout, it is then deferred and paid out over 10 years. Not sure if these are the exact terms, but I guess $1.5 million a year for a decade. Strange? Very strange. A massive deal for a couple of reasons. As I said, it's the biggest deal of the offseason so far, and it gives an already very good-looking White Sox team a true shutdown closer. White Sox Executive Vice President Kenny Williams always gets his man, that's the saying, as does his right-hand man, General Manager Rick Hahn. But the White Sox front office should maybe worry about betting big on a relief pitcher, because while the game of Major League Baseball has evolved to a point where relief pitching is very, very important, relievers are still the most volatile position. Just look at the career of this man, Hendriks. So, through the first 8 years of his career, Hendriks was a so-so bullpen loafer who had pitched for 4 different teams and amassed a career ERA plus of 87, i.e. below average, not to mention a whip of 1.382. Given the large amount of hits that he allowed, compared to a fielding independent pitching mark of 391. Not that good at the end of the 2018 season. You know, you're just sort of your guy you throw in there in like the 6th inning or maybe even the 5th if your starter gets out of hand. Maybe you feel like putting him out there in the 7th when you have the lead, but not a closer. And then, like a kangaroo drop kick. Yeah, this Aussie accent's going to come and go. Deal with it. Out of nowhere, like a drop bear, Hendriks showed up in 2019 to become the Oakland Athletics closer, and he carried over that greatness into 2020 as well. Over the last 2 seasons, he's posted an ERA and FIP both in the 170s, and in 110-plus innings, he has struck out 161 batters while walking just 24. A 33%, i.e. 1/3 of the batters he's faced have struck out. Jeez. Hendriks has done away with allowing guys on base, a whip below 0.9, and made 39 saves in 47 opportunities in those last 2 years. An all-star, a relief pitcher of the year. Hendriks has been sensational as of late. As for his markup as a pitcher, Hendriks has 3 primary pitches. All of them rate very well as far as Brooks baseball is concerned. 96 to 97 mile an hour 4-seam fastball, which he throws most of the time. Gets a lot of swings and misses on that. A screw you slider that goes harder than most at 87 to 88, but is a big ground ball pitch for Hendriks. And a sharp downward curve that also gets a lot of whiffs, and an increase in curveball velocity over the past 2 years. It's about 84 miles an hour these days. May have led to some of the better results he's seen in these last 2 years. Now, will the White Sox get the 2019-2020 Hendriks or the old Hendriks for the next 3 years of this contract? The outcome of that question will be decisive as the Who's hunt for a World Series ring. There is no role as momentous as that of the ninth inning guy, the game ender. Maybe the White Sox should ask their neighbors up north, the Chicago Cubs, who gave Craig Kimbrel a 3-year, $43 million contract prior to the 2019 season, and at the time it looked fine. I mean, yeah, it was kind of expensive for a reliever, as is this Hendriks deal, but Kimbrel was a 30-year-old who was a 7-time All-Star, the active career leader in saves. His regular season resume was stellar. Granted, his most recent performance at that point, the 2018 postseason run for the Red Sox, was not that great. Anyway, Kimbrel looked like a potential Hall of Famer. And in that first year under contract, 2019, he was just terrible, awful, hogwash, a liability. Every time I heard Sweet Child of the Mind come out in Wrigley Field, I was like, I don't want to watch this. And guess what happened? Kimbrel allowed a game-winning home run to the other team. And it wasn't until towards the end of 2020 that Craig K started to, look like his old self. So, as for this Hendriks contract, it is exciting. I'm pretty hyped on this. He's signing a top closer in Hendriks gives the White Sox just about everything they could have wanted when you look at the rest of their roster. And even as far as their bullpen's concerned, last year their relief corps had the 7th lowest ERA in baseball, and they've retained most of the arms in that bullpen, except for former closer Alex Colomé, now a free agent, and you could say that Hendriks is a definite improvement there. Team payroll stands at a decent $121 million, but as I said, a lot hinges on whether they get the same old Hendriks and on how their plethora of young stars, both in the field and on the mound, perform over the next few years. So definitely a team to watch, definitely a team that's going to get hyped up a lot, the Chicago White Sox. Obviously, this sucks for Hendriks' old team, the Oakland Athletics, but they don't give money to anybody, so no surprises here. This is the bed that Moneyball boy Billy Beane has made. Rest in it. And as for the market as a whole, here is the first domino to fall as far as free agent relievers, with the likes of Brad Hand and Kirby Yates still available. I can imagine there was a bidding war for Hendriks, considering how dominant he's been, and MLB Network named him the #1 relief pitcher in baseball yesterday. So maybe that's the reason why the White Sox went in. But some of the teams in the running for Hendriks, Hand, and Yates now have included the Astros, Blue Jays, Mets, Padres, Phillies, Giants, and Dodgers. So keep an eye on the stove as to where these finishers land. But for now, the sickest cunt in the majors, Liam Hendriks. He'll have a black hat and pinstripes. All right, enough Australian accent. Let's go to Washington, D.C., where Kyle Schwarber has signed a contract with the Nats. So it's a 1-year deal. It guarantees $10 million, but that's a $7 million salary for Schwarbie in 2021 and then a $3 million buyout or an $11 million option for 2022 if that season happens. Yikes. Let's talk about it. Okay, Schwarber is an oddly polarizing player. Okay, on one hand, a fan favorite for the Chicago Cubs, a former 4th overall pick who got a lot of hype as a power-hitting prospect for the once ascending Cubs. Oh, God, remember when he hit that home run to the top of the scoreboard? How long ago? And on that note, some would call Schwarbie a bust, a limited ball player, i.e. a permanent DH, someone not worthy of a big league roster spot. I've heard this, and to that I say nay. Put some respect on Schwarber's name. Well, His 6-year career has been a little wild, from postseason heroics to a devastating early season injury to getting sent to the minors mid-season to hitting 38 home runs in 2019. Schwarber is a difficult player to evaluate on account of his inconsistencies. What I can tell you is, as a Cubs fan, someone who's watched a lot of Schwarber, this guy's a straight slugger. You can see that in his career slash line of 230, 336, 480. He has 30-plus home run power and 70-plus walk patience, although his strikeout numbers are high. I will say that Schwarbie tends to get squeezed on strike calls a lot. Just my opinion. And he's the kind of hitter who gets out on a defensive shift over to the right. So 2 weaknesses that the Nationals fans should note. Overall, though, Kyle Schwarber's been an above average or average producer in 4 of the 5 seasons. I'm excluding the one where he only played 2 games before destroying his knee. With a career OPS plus of 113, I would recommend Schwarbie on account of his offense. And defensively, however, people love to hate the boy, and while he's definitely a subpar outfielder, averaging -2 defensive runs saved above average, below average. This stat line's so wonky to give you, but he's a below average outfielder. I would put some respect on his arm. This dude's got a cannon if you want to try tagging up. Now let's see the Washington Nationals' objective here. This team needs an outfielder and someone that can hit, period, with Adam Eaton and Michael A. Taylor long gone. Schwarber will slot into left field while Juan Soto moves over to right, and you got Victor Robles in center field. This is now the second slugger acquired this winter by the Nationals, on top of first baseman Josh Bell, who was traded there by the Pirates. Kind of funny to see these 2 ex-NL Central sluggers now on the same team. Both will fit into the heart of the Nationals' order, along there with Soto. And going back to Schwarbie, you'll see he was projected to earn about $9 million in arbitration from the Cubs, for which they non-tendered him because their owner can't do basic market research. And now he gets a raise from Nationals GM Mike Rizzo. And on the fact he's going to a competitive team, I'd say Schwarber won this deal. Maybe there was a bidding war, or maybe Mike Rizzo was feeling himself, feeling aggressive. Regardless, the Nationals are going to come with some firepower in 2021. Great signing if he produces, and as I said, there is risk with Schwarber. I do like what the Washington baseball team are doing, trying to win. Well, they got this great rotation and some young players locked down. And as for Schwarbie, well, he went out and said he's got a chip on his shoulder after the non-tendering, so I wish him the best in his career. And another Cubs note, he will reunite with Starlin Castro in D.C., so that's kind of fun. Anyway, I could end things here, but I will instead hop straight into the rumor mill and just breeze through this here rumor roundup because, as I mentioned in the last couple of videos, the rumors have been heating up, and that's good news for actual deals. Anyway, let's start with LeMahieu watch. DJ LeMahieu's top choice is a reunion with the Yankees, but with both sides far apart on money, the machine has started to look elsewhere, and he will meet several suitors this week. A few of those teams have been mentioned before, like the Mets, Blue Jays, and Dodgers. And to that, you can add the Braves, Red Sox, and Cardinals as potential landing spots for LeMahieu. Kris Bryant, another team has asked about KB, and it's the Toronto Blue Jays. I want this to happen so bad. Unless he actually goes to Toronto and just starts going off out of nowhere because it's a contract year. Then I'll be a little peeved. But anyway, some more Cubs rumors. Wilson Contreras to the Marlins is the latest whisper. That'd be kind of weird. That would suck for Jorge Alfaro. Just a couple years ago, he looked like a pretty good catcher. Got traded to the Marlins in the JT Realmuto trade, and he had a pretty bad 2020. And that'd be pretty drastic if Miami was like, "Oh, screw you, we're getting Willie C." Speaking of drastic developments, apparently the Red Sox are shopping outfielder Andrew Benintendi. and they're looking for prospects in return. This would be a bizarre move regarding a former number one prospect, as per Baseball America, a 26-year-old who has done great things at the big league level, but has also declined from a strong 2017-18, both offensively and speed-wise. Benintendi is projected to earn just $6.6 million in arbitration, so there's no financial sense to the Red Sox wanting to move him, even though they do have a pretty high payroll overall. And if they do, Boston will be down a starting outfielder unless they can re-sign Jackie Bradley Jr. And that may be the reason why they're pushing hard to trade a promising young player completely out of nowhere. Teams interested in Benintendi include the Astros, Athletics, and the Rangers so far. No secret that the Houston Astros are in on top relief options. But let's talk about the Reds for a sec. There was a lot of talk about a potential Cincinnati Reds teardown. A lot of rumors swirling. A little bit of news out of Cincinnati, even though nothing exact has happened. The news, or the word is that Mike Moustakas and Nicholas Castellanos, the two big additions to the lineup that the Reds made just last winter, signing both those guys to 4-year contracts. Those dudes are their most open trade chips. I don't know what they're doing over there. That report follows rumors that the Nationals were asking about Eugenio Suarez, their third baseman, likely in response to the so-far bust that is Carter Kieboom. We'll see if anything materializes down there in Cincinnati. They've talked a lot of talk about trading basically all their good players, but nothing has materialized. Bauer watch. Trevor Bauer has given some clarity as to what he's looking for, and that is a World Series contender. He says market size and geography do not matter, though there's lots of other little things like will they let him pitch on limited rest, which he's obsessed with, which I kind of respect, as well as their in-house pitching technology is something that Bauer is a big fan of, and you got to wonder how open a potential suitor would be to Bauer's various media exploits. I'm sure he'd like to forward that. Anyway, Bauer also downplayed rumors about demanding a contract with a $35 million plus salary, and that's probably because nobody in the majors today is willing to dish out that kind of money. And the Phillies are interested in right-handed pitcher Anibal Sanchez. Oh boy, as they hope to patch up a rotation that has lost Jake Arrieta to free agency. Haven't heard much about Arrieta for, I guess, good reason. He's kind of been on a decline since his glory days in Chicago. Anibal Sanchez is not the most exciting name, but it is what they can afford. And we've been talking about reunions this winter. Will the Phillies president, Dave Dombrowski, was the guy at the head of the Tigers front office when he signed Anibal to a 5-year, $80 million contract that went downhill from pretty much the beginning. Sanchez has reinvented himself, resurrected his career, had some good runs there with the Braves. It'd be quite cool if he went to Philly and did something. And just a couple of bullet points for you. The Orioles want a starter. I don't know why. I don't know why they're trying to do anything. Braves need a left fielder. Yeah, no shit. They lost Marcell Ozuna. And nobody is doing anything, even though we are into January. Still a lot of free agents left on the market. But the signings of Kyle Schwarber and Liam Hendriks are big. I'm stoked. Let's go. Have a good day, Stovies. Keep mining. Keep thriving. Keep shining.